Last Epoch is one of those games that once you find out about it and start doing your due diligence, you realize the game has been around for more time than that weird country singer kid from, well, the country. The game originally released in 2019 in early access and has been steadily churning out updates, content, and as the young people call it these days, the good stuff. I don't really know why they would say that. Up until its 1.0 release in February of 2024. But now in 2025, its highly anticipated third season has graced our presence with its reworked class specializations and added content. But if you haven't played it or heard of Last Epoch up until now, well then this is all just gibberish to you, but no worries, because in this video I will try to speak less gibberish and look at the new player experience, if it's fun to play, what works and what doesn't, and if it indeed is worth your time, especially now in season 3. So subscribe if you're new and let's get into this shebangis. So in case you've missed it, here's the Last Epoch kind of rundown until now in a very fast version. Last Epoch is an action RPG that looks and feels like it sits somewhere between Diablo and Path of Exile. It's got time travel, vector story, 5 base classes that branch into master classes, and it focuses on customization through passive trees and loot drops are plenty but not overwhelming, and the game has multiple layers of monolith dungeons and cycles which are the game seasonal resets. It's been in early access for years and as of 2024 it hit 1.0, which means it's officially a complete release with ongoing seasonal content with each seasonal update that has significantly expanded the game's depth and replayability. Season 1 hardened of ruling introduced formidable pinnacle bosses and dodgeable mechanics, enhancing both challenge and fluidity in combat. This update also revamped the central class, adding new skills and improving class balance across the board. Additionally, the monolith of fate receives substantial updates, offering more varied and rewarding endgame experiences. Season 2 turns the amazing rock enigmatic woven faction into full blown host of monolith updates. Central class with comprehensive reward, introducing the heart seeker skill and finding class identity, progression, soul enhancements, itemization and balance, quality life improvements, streamlined gameplay, introducing dungeon enhancements. Season 3 released ancient skies, delved into the ancient past, adding a new campaign chapter and introducing primordial gear with unique primal hunt system, offers challenging new endgame activities. Season also featuring major balance paths, finding skills and builds to ensure a more dynamic and engaging experience. Collectively, the seasonal updates have transformed Last Epoch into a more expansive and nuanced action RPG, continually involving to meet the desires of its player base. Wow. Let's slow things down a bit. Looking at what it feels like to start a fresh game in 2025, man, booting up Last Epoch for the first time was a weirdly cozy mix of familiarity and freshness. The game doesn't reinvent the wheel at first glance, and if you've touched Diablo or PoE or even Torchlight, you'll feel right at home here. You spawn into a broken world as per usual, and right away you're cutting down cultists and skeletal nasties in a familiar ARPG click and slash rhythm. But then the time travel hook starts creeping in. You're not just grinding through a generic fantasy world anymore, because you're shifting between eras, seeing ruins before they fall and lands before the decay. It adds a nice little spicy spice to that typical loop of kill, loot and push forward. Visually, look, it's not the flashiest game out there, but it does something important. It runs well. Animations feel clean, effects are readable, and nothing feels like your PC is gonna catch on fire after a single spell. That's already a win compared to some other ARPGs out there, which is a name I will not mention here. I mean, there is clutter here, no doubt, and you will get lost in the sauce, but at least your PC won't explode this time around. What stuck with me in the first hours was just how much the game respected my time. You get access to key systems fast, you're socketing gems, customizing abilities, and branching into passives long before you'd even hit Act 2 in some other games. It's rewarding right away, which matters for anyone who's only got a few hours to play every night, and that same rewardation extends to the loot system, and I just clearly made up a word there. As loot is the backbone of any ARPG, Last Epoch manages a sweet spot between simplicity and depth. Gear drops regularly, but you're not swimming in junk. I mean, up until you learn how to use the filtering system, of course. The crafting system also lets you take that near perfect item and nudge it into something even greater, so you don't always feel like you're waiting for RNG gods to finally bless your goofy ass. For a new player, that is absolutely huge. It makes you feel in control instead of chained to random drops. The 5 base classes of Acolyte, Primalist, Mage, Rogue, and Sentinel, oh man, I almost said Rogue, all feel super distinct, but the real magic happens when you choose an actual mastery for each class, and picking one fundamentally changes your playstyle. That means even early on, you're not just a magi, you're a sorcerer with explosive fireballs or a spellblade who dives into melee combat. The sense of identity comes fast, and it's a big motivator to keep playing, as build making is maybe a bit more approachable compared to games like Path of Exile 2, for example. You can absolutely theory craft for hours here, but you don't need a doctorate in spreadsheets just to survive the campaign, broski. As a new player, I appreciated that the systems opened up naturally without overwhelming me, and they happened at a speed where it felt like I was constantly improving towards a dream build. Story, on the other hand, well, in ARPGs in general, can be a bit hit or miss. Some are throwaway excuses to keep on clicking, while others try too hard to maybe be too cinematic. Last Epoch lands somewhere in the juicy middle. It's not groundbreaking at all, really, but the time travel twist gives it an edge. Watching areas transform across eras is, well, very satisfying. More importantly, well, it doesn't get in the way. Dialogue is brief, quests are clear, clear, and you're back to smashing monsters quickly. Alternatively, you can just spam text boxes like me and not really pay attention to what's going on. Like, that works just as fine here. Last Epoch is surprisingly respectful in short sessions. You can log in for an hour or two, clear a chunk of the campaign, upgrade your gear, and feel like you actually made progress. That's not always true in the genre. Some games make you feel like you've wasted your time if you can't grind for 6 straight hours, broski. There is also the whole thing about the endgame content. Now look, I haven't played it extensively yet, and it does feel like a bit grindy in parts, at least at the start. But for most people who just like playing through games first before deciding on endgame shenanigans, what's here is, well, super serviceable. But with that being said, it's not all sunshine and, well, less sunshine? Look, Last Epoch isn't flawless. The UI can feel a bit clunky at times, especially when you start digging deeper into crafting and navigating skill trees. It is functional, yes, but it doesn't always feel smooth. Enemy readability, while better than some other ARPGs admittedly, still occasionally gets super messy in big fights when particle effects really stack up. Another issue might be the pacing. The early game throws systems at you quickly, which is great, but it also means the campaign itself can feel a little dry in spots. It's not boring, but it can feel like you're trudging instead of sprinting at times. And as a somewhat casual gamer in this genre, I have to say, broski, I still find it very confusing on how and what to upgrade in terms of gear. Like, what the hell? I feel very stupid in saying that now, but man, the whole crafting system feels super convoluted, especially for the new player experience. But looking at this as a whole, one thing I noticed while poking around the community is that veteran players are, well, super split on Season 3. Some love the new additions, but others feel like the quote-unquote new content isn't delivering the excitement that they were expecting. Things like item factions and new dungeons are getting mixed reactions, with some praising the variety and others feel like the grind is heavier without enough payoff. As a new player though, you don't really notice these things right away. The base game is strong enough that you're not overthinking about seasonal meta shifts or endgame grinds in your first 10 hours or even the first 30. But I want to acknowledge those concerns nonetheless because they are out there. And I'll be covering them in detail, by the way, in a more focused video just on Season 3. So if that's something you want to hear more about, then you know where the subscribo button is. So what is the verdict on jumping into Last Epoch in 2025? I mean, I know people on the tubes always love a good verdict or two, and honestly, look, it's one of the more approachable ARPGs I've played in recent years. It respects your time, it gives your build freedom without drowning you in complexity, apart from the upgrade systems, of course, and it delivers a campaign that's engaging enough to push through without ever feeling like homework. It's not perfect, mind you. The UI and pacing could use some polish, and the environments don't always pop with personality, especially the sewer levels, man. Don't get me started on those. But for anyone new to the genre and for veterans who just don't have 40 hours a week to sink into theory crafting, Last Epoch is an easy recommendation. It strikes that really good balance between depth and accessibility that many other ARPGs struggle to get right. And if you've been wondering whether it's worth starting now, then TLDR, the answer is yes, of course. You'll have a blast learning the systems, experimenting with builds, and getting a taste of the end game at your own pace. The community debates about Season 3 won't affect you in your first experience, honestly. And by the time you get there, you'll have a much better idea of what matters to you. And that's all that matters at the end of the day. With that being said, that pretty much wraps it up for this beautiful video yet again. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, let me know what you think in the comments, man. Last Epoch Season 3, let me know what your thoughts are on that season so far. If you finished it or if you're just getting started. Any and all comments take this video a long ass way to the greatness of the tubes. So man, join the group, man. Join the broskis by subscribing to the channel, of course. If you want to watch me ramble on some more, then click this video to watch exactly that. I don't really know how to end this video, broski, so I'm just gonna say keep on trucking my dudes. We'll catch you in the next upload. Oh, peace.